Welcome to Chillin' with Ice with me, Lori Fetrick, or most of you know me as Ice from the American Gladiators. Thank you for joining me on this podcast where we're going to dive in and go behind the scenes on the #1 hit iconic show of the 90s. It's time to get up close and personal on what drove us to be gladiators, what challenges we faced, and how we overcame to reach all of our goals. I know in this first season, inquiring minds want to know, was there drama, fights, hookups? Are we all still friends? What did we do in our personal lives, and how are we staying in such good shape years later? Well, stay right here and let's get into Chillin' with Ice. Before we dive into our incredible episode today, I want to let you know that this is a self-funded podcast and I would love your support. For the cost of a cup of coffee a month, you can donate to my Patreon page, and that would make all the difference in the world. For the small donation, you will get back so much in rewards. Like you can watch all of my podcasts on video. I will have exclusive content like behind the scenes footage, a private Facebook group where you can interact with me directly and other VIP fans, a monthly Q&A, direct shout outs and follows from me to you on your social media, and so much more. Find me on Patreon at Chillin' with Ice or click the link in the show notes now. Okay, let's dive in. All right. Here we are today, and we're back. And thank you very much, April, for joining me again. We're going to talk about gladiators today.
Yeah.
So we kind of went before gladiators. Now let's go during. Let's go have some fun with this kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited. Let's get into it. I mean, we left off. We left off at.
How did you get to try out for the gladiators? What was it like during tryouts, and basically what happened after that?
Well, I mean, tryouts were, it's kind of like one of those stories to where I've told it a lot. You know what I mean? It's like, what were tryouts like? It was interesting. Tryouts were kind of grueling a little bit for me. I mean, basically it's like I found out that, Ray Hollett was pregnant and there was going to be tryouts. And I just started flipping through the phone book. She didn't give me any information whatsoever. And so, that's a story everybody has already heard. When I went into the tryouts, I mean, there were some big ass bodybuilder chicks.
I bet.
I mean, they were like, I was big at the time, because I was going in the nationals. As a matter of fact, I was getting ready to actually not try out, but go compete in national bodybuilding for the heavyweights.
I remember seeing pictures of that time. So yeah, you were pretty ripped.
Oh my God, I was huge and I was ripped.
Were there girls bigger than you though?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I was probably weighing, I'm going to guess probably, I don't know, 150 maybe, 155, something like that.
Yeah.
Some of these girls were like 180, 5'9", 180.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And for some reason, it's like with the gladiator tryouts, they had like the very first thing was they wanted to know how many pull-ups you could do. And I guess that they figured that was like the sign of strength or something, how many pull-ups can you do?
How many could you do?
Honestly, I think I could probably do like 15, 20 at the time. And I think they only required women to do like 8 or 10. But you got to remember, I was, doing bodybuilding. I was competing. And so, I mean, and we already talked about, the little enhancements and shit like that. And I was training, and this is crazy, but I wasn't doing pull-ups like this. My hands were like this. I would put a belt around my waist with a chain that hung down, and I would attach a 45-pound plate to that chain, and I would do pull-ups.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What? That's insane.
I was
You're
a
a beast.
monster. Yes, I was a beast back then.
That's crazy.
I
And that's
know.
after the juice though. It was because of the juice?
Well, come on. I mean, geez. Yeah,
Okay.
I was like
Yeah.
strong as bull. It's like my TikTok video.
Oh my God, they need to show that.
I know.
Can
What
you
was
show
that?
that?
What was the
Strong like bear in the forest or something like that.
exactly, the
Yeah.
TikTok video. Oh, I don't want to be, what was that? I don't want to be like I don't want to be strong like man. I want to be able to kill bear in forest or
Something like
something
that.
stupid.
It was like
No,
your first one
It's
too.
my very first TikTok.
Yeah, it was funny though.
I
You gotta show
know.
that.
By the way, you look hot today.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Love the
I
hat.
tried.
I love the hat.
Yeah, loving the chilling with ice.
Absolutely.
You look pretty good too, actually.
Oh,
You
thank you very
clean
much.
up nice.
Yeah, we do, don't we?
Yeah.
That hat, by the way,
Huh.
I'm going to tell them where they can get it. You can actually, I have Chillin' with Ice hats. I have a website and it's called Ice T-shirts. And you can go get a hat like that. I have
Nice
all
t-shirts.
kinds of fun things. That's like my passion project. That was my T-shirt line,
It's like your
like
hobby.
my hobby.
Creating
I'm
t-shirts.
totally into the surf culture. We're going off gladiators for a second. I'm totally into the surf culture.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
living in California, I wish that I actually learned how to surf,
Uh-huh.
but because I couldn't see like underneath me in the ocean and it was so fucking
Same.
cold, I didn't feel comfortable. But
Me
anyway, I
either.
love everything about the surf culture. So anyway, back to
Yeah.
gladiators. I just wanted to say, like, you look awesome today. You look
Thank you.
beautiful.
I try,
Gorgeous.
try sometimes.
Back to gladiators.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, tryouts were it was intense. I had to do pull-ups. They did like a simulation as far as like Powerball. What they have us do, they had us run like a 40-yard dash, how fast we were. What else? Tug of war. Oh my
Mm.
God, they had us play tug of war. And I was like playing tug of war with some chick that was like, 185.9. I was just like pulling him, just going as hard as I could.
Didn't you guys do that on the show though, too? Like some sort of pulling,
Mm,
like
mm.
out of the circle. What was that? What game was that?
Okay, well, there was dog. I call it dog bone.
Why?
Just the way, like the whole handle, the way they actually called it dog bone, like backstage.
You were good at that because you got real low. I remember seeing you like get real
Yeah.
low and you were able to just
I
like pull
want
people
to say
out.
it was like whiplash or something.
Probably.
I
It
think
sounds
that's what it was
right.
called. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they actually did do a tug of war
Huh.
where the pedestals, like, kind of like pivoted. So you
Yes,
were either
that's what I'm thinking
forward
of.
or it was
Up on
backwards.
the
Yeah, up on like the
wh-
joust pedestals, but
yep.
they made the platforms. Exactly.
Yes.
So we did play tug of war. It wasn't my favorite. It's kind of boring. It wasn't super exciting to watch, you know.
I thought it was because it was, the fall. Like who's gonna fall?
Oh, everybody wants to see the crash.
Yeah, of course. That was the whole point.
Hmm. But and then what they would do is after we went through all these different, strength, agility, can you move? Are you strong? Then they put us on camera and they started asking us questions like, can you speak? Can you have a conversation? And it's funny because I go back and I went back to watch the shows, getting ready for this podcast. And I mean, every once in a while I'd go watch the shows. It's been like forever though. I go back and I'm like, oh my God, the things that, they would go, so Mike Adamle was awesome. So Ice, how'd you feel about that? I was like, It was like the stupidest
That's what you
shit that came
said.
out of my mouth. It was like, yeah, the harder they are, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Shit like that. It was just like, it was hysterical. I was like, maybe a little training on what we're supposed to say
Did
would
you
have
get
been
that?
nice. No.
Was it scripted? Were you guys able to do what you kind of wanted to do with as far as like was it planned who was gonna win? Kind of like,
I started thinking about
football.
that the other day and no. I mean, everything was real, everything was live.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it the other day going, wait a minute, they would put certain gladiators when we'd walk in, we'd see the schedule. And yeah, certain gladiators were better at events than others.
Yeah.
And so they knew the contenders were, they were either fast, they were strong. So I have a feeling they were like, okay, well, Lori's really good at, let's say, the joust. And this contender, maybe they're not the greatest. So maybe we won't put Lori up against her. Maybe we'll take a weaker gladiator that isn't so good at the joust so that the contender has a chance. So I wonder if that was a strategy of theirs. Of course, they're not going to tell us. But yeah, think about that. I mean, a lot of the games, I look on the chat boards, as far as gladiators are like, oh, the games were totally for the gladiators and nothing was for the contenders. No, this was a weekend warrior type of show. It was like, are you fast enough? Are you strong enough to go against the gladiators? So of course, I mean, come on, that's what the show was about. So
Right.
the games weren't necessarily geared towards the gladiators or geared towards the contenders.
Hmm.
But what was the question?
What was it like? What is it like now to go back and see yourself like 30, what is it, 30 years later?
God, yeah, 30 years later. Of course, I look at my body and go, fuck,
Yeah.
damn.
Well, I don't know.
I was
You still got it.
Thank you. But it's interesting. I look at my legs. My legs were huge, and
Yeah.
my abs were just like ripped.
Yeah.
I
And it was so much easier to keep it and to gain
Yeah.
it, to get it that way,
I mean, obviously, the
right?
one thing that I would have changed is the hair, the
Yeah.
hairstyle.
Mhm.
I mean, the perm, but that was back in the
Yeah.
80s and 90s.
Yeah.
That was huge. That was big.
My favorite was what was the one you had? The Joe Dirt. What's that one called? You
The
know what I'm talking
mullet.
about? The mullet. That was my favorite.
I went through that phase. I did go through that phase to where I shaved both sides of my, not shaved. Okay, just
Well,
trimmed both sides of my,
not bicked, but they were definitely,
yeah.
yeah.
That was when I first started bodybuilding. That wasn't when I was on the actual Gladiator show. My hair was longer, but I had a perm. So I would go back and I would never get a perm
Mhm.
again if I could do it all over again. I don't know. I mean, I tried to be girly, which was really interesting. I was, this big bodybuilder, and yet I had like, I had the
Yeah.
fingernails, and I had one girl tell me one time, we were in a bar, and she goes, "Those fingernails just don't match. They don't match you." And I was like,
Well, you
"What
had
are you
them long. I
talking
remember you had
about?"
them kind of long, and you'd get them red.
I know, right?
I
I
was
tried to
like,
be all girly and everything, and I look back. When I look back on the show, I laugh my ass off and go, "Oh my God." It's
some
just,
random person just said that to you in a
yeah,
bar.
yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah. So, I mean, going back and looking at myself, I mean, yeah, the events were amazing. They were fun. Loved every minute of it. I think that I would have liked some coaching as far as like what to say when they interviewed us. There was just a free for all, and we just sounded like idiots,
Mhm.
you know. Well, there was
And
one show I was watching, and I think I told you this the other day. And oh, by the way, God rest her soul, and this is gold. She just passed away. But she was doing Powerball. And I guess Mike Adamley afterwards, he goes, "So, Gold, you were out there and man, you were feeling it." And he goes, right in the middle, you just raised your arm up like that. And it was just like, you were so into it. She goes, "Mike, I was feeling good and I wanted everybody else to know I was feeling good." I mean, that's the kind of stuff
that's
that's the kind
awesome.
of shit we would
You know
like
what though? It
say.
amped up the audience because imagine all the kids at home watching, people at home watching. They
Yeah,
love that. They love that shit.
I know.
That's what they were watching it for. Like, it's like the wrestling and stuff. It's like,
Yeah, the
that's the
wrestling
fun of it.
really got people amped up,
Yeah.
you
So you
know.
guys were pretty competitive with each other as well. I
We
take it.
were super competitive with each other. I mean, well, especially let's go with we were super competitive when it came to personal appearances, all of us,
Hmm.
meaning guys and girls, we were super competitive because it's like, that's where we made a lot of our money in the off season. But the girls, oh, absolutely. Let's be real. I think we were all Aries, A type A
God.
personalities.
Yeah.
Put them all together, and then it's just like little cat fights here and there, and drama, and a little arguing, and me, 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 me. No, it's kind of like one of those kind of things backstage. So, I mean, yeah, we were super. I'm going to say, yeah, we were very competitive with each other.
S-
So
Sorry, I have a ton of questions.
go.
So I have questions that I thought that the fans would want to know.
Okay,
So I have, a bunch of,
ask
I got a
away,
bunch, so I had to write them
ask
down. But
away.
so what did you love about the TV show or hate? What did you love or hate about the tour or the Orlando live show? Like, what did you love or hate about
I mean,
all of those?
okay, so the television show, obviously, I loved it. I mean, I did. I love
Obviously,
being
that was the height of it.
I
Yeah.
love being on television. I love the whole thing about that.
Yeah.
What did I hate about it? I can't really say I hated anything about it. I didn't care for like when we would leave, okay, so when we were done with an event, we'd go off stage and we had to wait because what would happen is, okay, so they would film 2 shows a day. This
Hmm.
is how the filming went. We would film 2 shows a day. So let's say they put up the joust. Well, they're not going to put up the joust just for one show. They're going to put up the joust for 2 shows. So you would go, like the 2 contenders on my particular show. We would do them. We would film them, and if you were in one of the shows, great, you would joust. And then they'd have a second set of girls, which was show number 2, go ahead and do the joust as well. And then the guys would go, and then the second set of guys would go. So there was a lot of hurry ups, sit around and wait is what would happen. And that kind of like your momentum, and you were just amped up, you'd amp yourself up, do the event, and all of a sudden go, "Arr."
Wah, wah.
Yeah, 100%. And you'd have
Yeah.
to sit around, you'd have to wait for maybe an hour and a half
Yeah.
for the next event. And you'd have to get yourself amped back up again.
Hurry up and wait. Hurry up and wait.
Yep. And go out. And maybe you weren't even in the next event. So you might be sitting around waiting for 2.5 hours before you do an actual event. So that was hard to get, amped back up for the second
Momentum
event.
going again.
Yeah, because of the fact that they wanted you to have that energy.
Just instant energy. And it's hard.
100%. And it is hard if you're sitting around waiting for 2 hours before you actually go in to do that 30-second event.
Yep.
So that's the one thing about the television show that was kind of hard. The tour, that was interesting. We hit 106 cities in I think like 6 months. So we would just go back to back to back to back. And when they said they were putting us on a tour bus and we were going to be like a rock and roll band, in let's put it this way, the first 30 days, everybody was like, woohoo! At the end of the 6 months, everybody was like, oh my God.
Oh, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it was.
But you got to stay in hotels? You weren't just on a bus the whole time, right?
What we would do is we would travel to a city. We started out in like, let's say, I think it was Maine. We started in Maine. So we traveled to Maine, flew there, did the show, got on the bus. Okay, let's say the show started at like 7:00 and we would hit the stadium like 6:00. We'd eat dinner there. The show started at 7, done by 9. So 9:00, we'd leave the stadium, we'd get on the bus and we would travel to the next city. Hopefully the city was somewhat close, but many times the city was not close. And so we would travel overnight. So you were on the bus overnight, or maybe it got into the hotel the next city, like say 2 a.m. So here you are dragging your ass off the fucking bus at 2 a.m.
After doing the show.
After doing the show, you were exhausted. Get into the hotel room, settle in, sleep, get up the next day, like around 11, 12, do your workout because we still had to keep working out while we were on tour. I think that's when I got fat.
On tour?
I look at my photos when I was on tour and I was like, holy crap, I was kind of chunky.
Well, you guys were kind of partying and doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh my God, we were partying our asses off on that bus.
Yeah. So that was fun though.
It was a lot of fun. And
in the beginning.
You're absolutely right, in the very beginning. And the bus was a lot of fun in the very beginning because like some of the partiers would be in the front of the bus. They'd all be drinking beers and you could hear them up there hooping and hollering. And I don't know. The funny thing about the Gladiators is, okay, so pretty much everybody had rockin' bodies. And even on the bus, when they started drinking, everybody wanted to show their rockin' bodies. So some of the girls were like, woohoo! They'd be flashing people. And the guys would I'm not saying they'd pull their pants down, but they'd pull their shirts and sometimes, show their ass. And it was just like a weird free-for-all kind of bus experience.
Yeah.
Because you just had to entertain yourself. And then there was others that were in the back of the bus because there was a huge TV back there.
Oh.
And some would just be chilling, watching a movie or something like that. Or we'd put on music and, we'd be singing in the background. Storm and myself, Debbie, I got to say, we had a blast on the tour together. We really did. The girls got an amazing voice and we were just constantly singing in the back and, we'd bring it up to the front. And yeah, people were drinking beers, doing shots on the bus. So sometimes you'd get in at 2 a.m. and you'd be like completely wasted and you just stumble to your room. So yeah, you're going to put some weight on.
Yeah. Anybody hooking up on the bus awkwardly?
Oh my God. I'm gonna leave the names out, but yes, there were a few hookups and no, I didn't hook up with anybody on the bus. There were a few hookups and I'm just gonna leave it at that because of course I don't want to bring in the names. But yeah, certain gladiators hooked up with certain gladiators.
Yeah.
There's no, it is kind of a secret, but nobody talks about it.
Yeah, well, people have families and...
I know. Let's go. And so you asked the question about also Orlando Live.
Yeah.
Orlando Live was a blast. It was hard. It wasn't hard. It was time consuming. So what was weird about the Orlando show is having people sit down eating turkey legs while they were
like medieval times. Yeah,
Yes.
I went to that, and that was awkward. I can't like that's just it was weird. Yeah, it was a weird experience.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure who thought of this concept of,
Pretty funny.
hey, let's grab a turkey leg and chow down on it while you're watching some American Gladiators with amazing bodies out there. I mean, I don't want to eat when I see things like that. I'm like, oh, maybe not.
Makes me want to work out more.
And here was the worst part about it. They wanted us to go out in intermission and sign autographs. So they were eating. People were eating.
With their greasy fingers.
Yes. And they were all like, their mouth would be full and they'd be handing us photos. Can you sign this? And it was gross and nobody wanted to do it.
Somebody's kid spilled their parents' beer all over me when I went to medieval times.
Oh my God.
I wasn't a fan of those shows, but
yeah, it's just not fun.
No.
We had fun though. I would say the locker room was interesting. They shoved everybody into one locker room, the girls' locker room, the guys' locker room. But the actual show is kind of boring, because we were doing it night after night after night after night. And then, but what was fun is the after parties. What was fun is before doing the event. I mean, I feel like we had the life in a way. And that was, we would either go to the beach, we'd lay in the sun. I mean, it was in Florida, so we got great weather.
There was a lot to do.
There was a lot to do. And then we just had to be at the stadium by 6 o'clock, eat dinner, do the show, and then we were done.
Nice.
2.5 hours later. But again, it kind of became
repetitive, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it was a great job. It was fun. I mean, that was like, I think that was pretty much after, the live show was after everything was kind of said and done. Or as the television show, we had heard that, again, they didn't tell us shit, but we had heard that it was ending, that we had filmed our last season. It would have been nice for them to tell us. And then we did the Orlando live. I mean, so we weren't really sure how long that was going to go. So
what about the UK? Because you went over to the UK.
Yeah, we went over and did the international show 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty fucking awesome. That was cool.
Yeah, I bet. Like all the places. Did you get to go to a lot of places while you were there?
I had one of the gladiators show me around, after the show.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She showed you a lot, probably. A lot of stuff, huh?
Come on. But I know,
Just
what
saying. We'll get into that. It's another episode.
Yeah,
but
it's another episode. Yeah. So, yeah, it was cool. We got to go, all around England and see the castles. And
I'm jealous. I want to see the castles so bad.
That was cool. International show was a lot of fun as well. They do their show completely different than ours. They actually film their show in a big, huge arena. So imagine taking, let's say, I don't know, the Forum here in LA or any stadium in the cities, filling it with people. And so you're kind of doing a live show at the same time you're taping the television show. So that's how they tape their television shows. And if you think about it, it's like England, the amount of people that are in England, I heard, are the same amount of people in California, basically. I mean, as far size comparison in a way. So they were gods over there. I mean, when we went over there, they were on the side of buses. I mean, we saw billboards for the Gladiators. We saw all these things. We were like, whoa, wait a minute.
Oh, you didn't get that?
No.
That's messed
up. We didn't have billboards. We weren't on the side of a we were lucky if we got commercials.
Wow.
Yeah. They really didn't think that our show was going to go, the television show. So they just didn't really put any money into it.
It went on for like 8 or 9 years. I mean, get on the,
Yeah, but then they just started sucking it dry as far as we haven't put any marketing into it really. So why do we need to do it now? It's kind of on its own.
Right.
It was cool though, when we were on the live tour, we saw posters and everything because 7-Eleven was sponsoring us. So we saw big posters and I was on a couple of the big posters for our live tour. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole experience was pretty awesome.
I bet.
As far as that's concerned.
So you filmed what, 10 weeks a year, right? So what did you guys do the rest of the year when you weren't actually filming the show?
So yeah, the way the television show worked is we filmed for about 10 weeks, sometimes a week or two, give or take a week or two. We were done. So we'd have to fucking hustle our asses off is what we had to do because of the fact that we didn't make a lot of money on Gladiators. This is a huge misconception in the entertainment industry that if you're on television, you're rich.
Yeah, you're it.
No, not at all. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, when I was on the Gladiators, I remember when a producer came up to me and said, "Hey, we've got you and Ray, and you two are going to do lifestyles of the rich and famous." And we kind of looked at each other and we laughed and we went, "Lifestyles of the somewhat famous middle class, you mean?"
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And
And
so
then,
we 10 weeks out of the year and we were hustling our asses off. We were doing, and this is where the competitiveness came into play.
so there wasn't an episode, you're saying, of Lifestyle?
There was an episode.
Oh, there was?
Oh yeah, I did it. Ray and I did
I
it.
don't remember that.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Ray and I went and did it. It
Oh, I
was,
have to see this.
yeah, it was awesome. You can, I mean, I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet. And it showed the house, with the horses, my Harley. Actually, I don't even think it was my Harley Davidson that I rode on. I think I borrowed the Harley before I had one. But it was a fun episode. But anyway, so the rest of the year, we're hustling our asses off doing personal appearances just to make a living.
Yeah.
Because that was when there's a union called SAG, Screen Actors Guild. And we weren't part of Screen Actors Guild yet. There was another one called AFTRA. Well, AFTRA was less pay than SAG.
Yeah.
So we were the most underpaid television show on the air.
So
I think I got like my first season, like maybe $550 an episode, maybe.
Wow.
Maybe 1,000.
Like,
I don't
how
know.
greedy. Like, that's so
It was
messed up.
insane. So you weren't able to make a living off of just doing the television show. You would get residuals off of it. The residuals are okay.
Yeah.
I would say if I can remember, I'm going to say maybe 35, 40 a year just off the television show with residuals. So we're all in, fight or flight mode for the personal appearances. We would do car shows. We would do like Comic-Cons. We would do anything where they would hire us to sign autographs.
That's just crazy. Like, how pathetic of them to have treated you guys that way, though. Seriously.
Yeah, it was pretty hardcore when it came to that. So I learned to hustle. I learned to hustle my ass off basically to make a living, on this show.
What did you accomplish then? Other, like, you were doing the show, you were
Right.
hustling. I know you wrote a book. You did like a bunch of stuff, right? You
Yeah,
had a clothing line as well. at
Well,
one
it
point.
wasn't necessarily my clothing line, but yes. And so basically we were hustling doing personal appearances and we were looking for any and every opportunity that we could, to do something.
Yeah.
It was interesting because a lot of people didn't know where to put us in the category. Were we actors? Were we athletes? What were we? So we didn't have a lot of opportunities to do television and stuff like that. We had to make that happen. Yeah, I did a fitness video. I wrote a book. It's called Pure Fitness, and I wrote it with a psychologist, Body Meets Mind. I met him on an airplane, which was really cool, Robert Epstein. The clothing line wasn't necessarily my clothing line. I got asked to endorse the clothing line. It was called Go Figure, which that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a cool name.
Yeah. Geez, what else did I do? But all these things that I was doing, I was like, okay, this one's going to hit. Okay, this is going to be it. This is going to set me up.
Yeah.
Nah. It was just like, wah, wah.
Nothing stuck
Wah,
at the
wah.
time. Yeah.
No, nothing was really sticking. And then, so I mean, the accomplishments are great. I have those out there. Television shows, I started getting more into acting and learning how to act and, going to all the acting classes that I possibly could.
You were on some pretty cool shows, actually.
My first show ever was Who's the Boss? I think I was on it with
love
Nitro.
that show.
I think I was on it with Nitro, as a matter of fact. And they hired us and they went through the Gladiators and they said, okay, we need 2 Gladiators to be on Who's the Boss? And it was for a birthday party. I think Tony Danza's little kid or something like that, the lady, whoever that was. But yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I was like, okay. I kind of got the bug a little bit.
Yeah. You did like Superman or Lois and Clark. Is that what
It was Lois and Clark. So the television shows were a lot of fun. I did, God, of course you're going to ask me this, but I don't. Here, let me grab my resume.
Well, okay, I can remember some.
There was Who's the Boss? I did Danger Theater.
Oh, you were on the original Ellen show.
Yes,
with
Nitro,
Nitro.
and I did the Ellen show.
The show before her
before she actually got her talk show.
her actual sitcom.
Yes, that was a fun episode too.
Yeah.
And the episode was she actually went and she was like supporting her friend, the guy that was on the show. He was going to try out for the Gladiators. He didn't make it and she did. And so that was a lot of fun. And Nitro and I did it. And the episode was she had a love interest in Nitro. And apparently Nitro and I had a love interest. And she caught us. And that was the first time I had to kiss Nitro.
The first time?
Yeah. Well, first and only time.
Oh, okay.
But it was interesting because, I mean, I knew she was gay at the time. And Nitro's like, I'm sure that you would really rather be making out with her.
Right? I know.
And I kind of did at that point in time, had a little crush on her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was Ellen, like she was famous then too.
I know. I actually did. I had like a small crush on her at that point in time.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And then I did a couple movies, Kathleen Kenmott and her husband, Lorenzo Lamas. And that was CIA. We did a couple of those. So yeah, I did another one. It was like a smaller budget one called Bullet Head. But it was like, I was like a guest star here and there and here and there. So yeah, Superman was probably the one that I loved the most. Dean Cain was so much fun to work with.
Your character was really cool, actually. It was like perfect for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dean Cain was a lot of fun. So yeah, I met a lot of people in the industry, which was awesome, and that was definitely perks off the Gladiators.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not, like I said, I never thought about being an actor, when I was a kid. So, being able to get into a little bit of the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't some of those on your YouTube channel for people to look up?
I don't know. I think so.
Or your In the Zone is that one, right?
Oh my God. In the Zone. I forgot about In the Zone. In the Zone. Okay. So this is where I went, all right, fuck this shit. Nobody's hiring me for, the roles that I want. I wanted to do hosting, but I do look back and I was a bodybuilder and they weren't really like into female bodybuilders. I was bigger than the average girl. So they just didn't want to hire me. So I was like, fuck this. I'm going to do my own show. And that's when like the women at that point in time in the Olympics were there and the women were kicking ass and they were getting gold medals. And it was just like amazing for the US. And so I created a show called Women in the Zone to where I wanted to go in their world, try out what they were doing, showcase them. And it was just going to be an awesome show. The whole concept was. So I started shopping. I mean, I literally did a pilot. I got some great footage. Yes, that's on YouTube. And I rappelled out of a helicopter, at the beginning of it, which was so much fun. And
I don't know if I could do that, but that looked really cool.
You know what? It wasn't that much. It wasn't that scarier. It was weird because the way that it was filmed, we went to the cliffs down and it was past Laguna, like Oceanside area, to where there was a cliff, a drop off of like maybe 100 feet. And then there was the ocean. So what would happen is they took the helicopter up and it looked as though it was just like incredibly high above the ground when it was just an illusion. We were still pretty high. Don't get me wrong when I rappelled out of the helicopter, but that was awesome. But the point of it is that everywhere I took it, believe it or not, they were just like, it's a women's show. The men aren't going to watch it. It's just like, are you kidding me? These women are fucking kicking ass and they're beautiful. So men are going to watch the show. And the last one I took it to, and usually I don't take no for an answer. I just keep going and going and going. But I kept hitting walls and I kept hitting walls. And I think the last time what happened is I actually took it to Fox Sports and they were like, it's a great concept. We absolutely love it, but nobody's going to watch it because it's all about women. Fuck you. I was so mad. A year later, I turned on the television and I shit you not, I saw In the Zone, all men. I was like, hey, thanks for like,
nice idea.
I can't really say they stole the idea, but come on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So that was a little heartbreaking.
That's messed up.
So it's like, I kept trying and I kept trying, but man, it's like, that's where I learned to hustle. It's just like, yeah, you do get I got a lot of no's and I just kept moving. I kept pushing. And it's like, I kept trying, and here I am with a podcast. I kept trying.
Hey, you never know, like when it's going to be your turn. You have Netflix coming out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Kind of a wraparound and
exactly.
Remind everybody who you guys are and what you did. And...
Exactly. It'll make us more relevant again.
Yeah.
Seriously, think about it. It's been 30
years. Yeah. Are you guys actually all still friends?
A lot of us kept in contact, But there were some of us that we definitely lost contact with. I mean, Dallas and I talk all the time. Zap and I talk all the time. Diamond, Dan, of course, Nitro, Laser Tower. Everybody that when they're kind of local here, it's easier to stay in contact with. The ones that live far away. And again, Shannon's in Florida, so I go there all the time,
Yeah.
obviously. But I would say a handful. And then there's a handful that it's just like anything else. When you work for a company, there are people that you're going to stay in contact with. And then there are people you just don't really give a shit about, because you really weren't good friends anyway. You just worked together.
Yeah, you just didn't have that connection.
Kind of the same thing with the Gladiators, except the ones that we traveled a lot together with. Like Blaze, for instance, Blaze, I love her. She's great. She's very shy, but we didn't have a lot in common, so we really didn't stay in contact. I know Jazz is in Texas, and I think she has a really kick-ass job. She's like, some really high up in a company for engineer. So she doesn't really have anything to do with the Gladiators. But so, yeah, again, just a handful of us really stayed in good contact, but the rest of them necessarily.
How did you feel when the Gladiator reboot came out? What was that like?
In the very beginning, when I heard that it was being redone again, I was very excited about it. I guess I was really excited about it because I really honestly thought that they would have us doing something. I don't know, a coach in the background, it's something. I don't know, but kind of having us involved.
It would make total sense to have you guys, especially you or Nitro, to
any of the Gladiators,
any of them, but I mean to be like a voice of some sort,
something.
Yeah,
something. But they didn't, and they didn't want anything to do with us whatsoever. And
which
I think
surprises me actually. People would love to see,
and that's
you guys again.
The comments, that's the comment that I got. I got emails,
because it didn't make sense when I saw it. I went, I don't get it. I'm a Gladiator fan. I was, back in the day too. Still am, which is my favorite one. But it didn't make sense to me when I didn't see them contact you guys to like, hey, we're going to have, you guys on, off and on, just to make an appearance.
One would think.
It didn't, then that's why it didn't, I think it didn't do well. I think it would have done better if you guys were on it, to be honest.
I don't know, even to like little cameos, here and there. I think everybody was expecting that as well. It's like, oh, the Gladiators are coming back out, They took away the red, white, and blue and they made it all black.
Which is
weird. Again, that was kind of strange. The Gladiators themselves, I was kind of surprised at. No disrespect to the women whatsoever, but I just thought they'd be better.
It just didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like if you're going to do it, like make it make sense, but it didn't. The girls, you're right. They were not, they just look like girls in, I don't know, like bathing suit model kind of bodies, I guess.
Not all of them. I mean, like there was Gina Carano, and I think that maybe they just chose her because she was at the top of her game in MMA. And I remember talking to her backstage.
Well, she made sense.
Well, she hated doing interviews. She told me, she's like, I fucking hate doing these interviews. And you could tell she hated doing the interviews, and that wasn't good television. I mean, she was strong, but at the same time, I mean, MMA is a little bit different than gladiator games.
Yeah.
So
she was pretty though.
She was gorgeous.
She was really pretty.
We're talking like she's not around anymore, but yeah, she was.
I know.
She was gorgeous. She was the most beautiful one out of all of them. I mean, she was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I think I had a small crush on her.
Oh, I think we all did.
I think we all do. But even like the guys, I just didn't. I was really kind of surprised. However, the one, Mike O'Hearn, Titan, he came from the other Gladiators. I'm really trying to get him on because I really want to, do a podcast with him and get him in the studio and talk about the comparisons for him, the original show versus the new show, how it was for him, tryouts, all that kind of stuff. But he made sense because he actually looked like an original Gladiator, and he was an alternate on the original. But so I don't know. It's just really interesting. I was really disappointed. They didn't want anything to do with us whatsoever.
I was surprised, actually.
So it's kind of like a fuck you attitude kind of thing. I think with all the Gladiators when we watched, it was like, fuck it.
Well, and it didn't.
So we were just like, fine, whatever. Yeah. We're glad that it only did 13 seasons. See?
Whatever.
13 episodes. You fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should have had us on.
Should have had him on. So what was it you wanted to do when you were in Gladiators? So let's say,
You mean like when I was at the height of the career?
yeah, when you
kind
were
of?
when you were like the star of American Gladiators, what was it you actually wanted to do or accomplish like the most? Like, did you want to become an actor? Did you want to, hang out with very famous people? You got to hang out with very famous people, and you got to do some really cool things, actually.
I did. I wanted to I wanted to become an action star. I really did. Once I got my feet wet in acting, it was so much fun. I wanted to be like, the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider,
Did you do your own stunts?
I actually did do some of my own stunts. Fuck you. No, wait, I didn't do all my own stunts. I take that back. When I did Superman, Spice Williams was really huge in the stunt industry at the time. She's the one at the very end of Superman. It's like something happens, she comes back to me, blows me up, and it kind of, I don't know, throws me through like this door/window. She did that stunt for me. And as a matter of fact, she did another stunt for me. And that was when the movie that I did with CIA, there was a high fall. And it was something like, I don't know, it's something crazy that we did on this movie. She did the high fall for me as well. So she did do my stunts. So no, I didn't do all my own stunts. But, I wanted to do like, I was training in fight scenes and learning how to handle a gun and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, in the height of my career, oh my God, I wanted to become that action star. I wanted to become that person. And it just never happened.
Didn't you do like a training or a school or something like that for?
I did. I trained a little bit in the stunt school, and all I kept hearing in the back of my head here is, ooh, it's a really hard industry to break through. It's really hard to get into it. I knew how to ride horses, ride motorcycles. I mean, I could do a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And
it's dangerous as well.
Yeah.
And hard on your body.
But,
for sure.
I wasn't really too afraid of that. I hated high falls. I wasn't real good about that. I tried them. I tried to learn how to do them. But yeah, if I could have been an action star, that would have been.
Yeah. Aren't you afraid of heights?
I never used to be afraid of heights. The older I've gotten, for some reason, I don't know what that's all about. Maybe someday I'll have like a psychologist on the show and go, so why is it when we get older, all of a sudden the fear of heights comes into play?
Yeah.
Very strange. As a kid, I was never afraid of heights. I would jump off roofs. I mean, it didn't matter. Even like the helicopter, when I was rappelling out of the helicopter, it didn't faze me. But for some reason, the older I've gotten, it's just like, if I'm in a hotel room and it's like I'm on the 25th floor, it's hard, and it's all windows all the way down. It's hard for me to go all the way to the edge, and like it just gives me the EVGVs, and I don't know what that's all about.
I'm okay with heights for the most part, but for me, it's more claustrophobia. Like the whole mask thing for me, like being claustrophobic. You wanted me to put something on my face all the time. Like it made me feel claustrophobic. I hated it.
You just didn't believe in the mask, and that's a whole nother.
It's a whole
that's a whole nother fucking
episode.
Show.
We won't get into that, but
like, is the Earth flat or round? Okay.
I'm not that. I'm not that person. That's also another.
Oh my God, I so want to do an episode with you on conspiracy theories. I really do.
It would be fun, actually.
I know, I really do. It would be so much fun.
To have different views on it from different people.
Yeah, because I'm in the middle of a lot of these things.
Yeah, I know. Well,
I know. Go on. Back to Gladiators.
The more you know. So what was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome?
I would say not being able to do anything that had to do with American Gladiators as far as my career. Let me explain that. I played ice on the American Gladiators, but yet okay. There's a gentleman who owns the American Gladiator, like, trademark. So anything that had to do with American Gladiators, we could never put it next to us. So in other words, I had a website. And it was like, I called it Gladiator Life and Fitness. I got a cease and desist. You can't use a Gladiator name. Why not? It's because it looks as though we're endorsing you.
Well, like you couldn't even do you couldn't wear your uniform. Or, like if people
We
wanted
couldn't
you,
wear a uniform anywhere unless, yeah.
And people wanted you for like events and
Well,
stuff,
of course,
right?
think about it. I mean, they knew me as Ice. They didn't know me as Lori Fetrick.
Right. They wanted to see you in your uniform.
Yeah, I mean, if I showed up like this, they'd be like, well, who the fuck are you? Okay, put your uniform on and now we want you and we want you to sign autographs. We couldn't do that without the written approval or consent from the show or the creator of the show. So the obstacle was trying to create a career around being an American Gladiator without saying that you're an American Gladiator.
But would they give you the permission if you asked?
It depends. It really depends.
Like for your uniform stuff.
It depends. A lot of the time it has to do with money. You know, everything has to do with money. How much are you going to make? How much am I going to get?
Greedy bastards.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand it's like, you know, coming from the creator standpoint, he's like, well, I want to protect my brand. Okay, we get that, but we are your brand.
You would have kept the brand alive.
Absolutely. And we didn't want to hurt the brand because it's our career. We wanted to enhance it. I guess that, you know, it was a constant battle. And I know it's not a private rainstorm because apparently that's what happens with WWF. And I heard that happens with WWE. I heard that happens with a lot of, you know, once you sign your life away, you're kind of screwed. You're fucked. So that's why I always say being a gladiator was a blessing and a curse at the same time, because the blessing was I would have never done anything different. It was the most amazing opportunity I ever had in my life. But the curse was we couldn't do anything that people wanted us to do without getting permission. And half the time they either wanted all of our money, half the money, or they wouldn't let us do it at all. So the obstacle, that was the biggest obstacle, trying to create a career around something that you can use. So you had to become very creative, you know, in the sense of how can I do this without putting the American Gladiator logo there or without saying gladiators or whatever it may be.
Like chilling with Ice?
Possibly, yeah. Trademark. So, you know, things like that. That's the biggest obstacle in my entire career because everybody wanted Ice. Everybody wanted American Gladiator Ice. Didn't really want Lori Fetrick was, you know, and I understand
who's
that. Yeah, I get it.
Right. I mean, people know The Rock is The Rock. We don't know what his name is, right? Do we?
We do now. We do now.
We do now, I guess. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so what would you have done if if Gladiators never came along? What would you be doing, you think?
I would have probably been a chiropractor. I would have went to school to become a chiropractor.
I can see that. It's not too late.
Right.
It's only like 10 years of school.
Whatever. Go on.
Did you ever hook up with any gladiators or contenders? Is that a question I can ask?
No gladiators. No gladiators.
Everyone wants to know.
No gladiators.
Everyone wants to know that.
No gladiators. We'll leave it there. How's that? No gladiators.
No gladiators. Okay, so you're saying there's a chance that you possibly, you know, with other, I don't know.
Possibly. Yeah.
All right,
we'll leave that here and there.
We'll leave that for the comments, maybe.
Right.
Who was the biggest celebrity you met?
Ooh, there was a couple of them. There was Bruce Springsteen, Tom Hanks.
Yeah, but something was really
Kevin
cool about
Costner.
Springsteen. You went to
Bruce Springsteen's. I get to go to his birthday party. That was amazing.
That must have been really fun.
That was a lot of fun. That was very, very cool. So yeah, and the other big thing was I went to Kevin Costner's wedding. That was
pretty cool.
Awesome as well. That was like a 3-day wedding in Aspen. Wow. So I did that
3-day wedding.
3-day wedding.
My gosh.
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy. All right, so you went to a lot of industry parties.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you said Springsteen.
Springsteen's birthday party was.
But what was it like at the party?
It was just amazing. Just being there.
Who did you see there? There had to be tons of celebrities.
Believe it or not, there wasn't.
Really?
I mean, there was, but there wasn't. And I was just so in awe with being at Bruce Springsteen's home.
Yeah.
And then it
was at his home.
It was at his home in the Hollywood Hills.
Oh, that's cool.
You walked in and there was like this, like Harley Davidson an Indian Harley Davidson. Like showcased in his entranceway. It was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And he actually kind of tapped me on the shoulder. He goes, "Come here, I want to show you something." And he took me downstairs and he showed me his gym. And I was like in my head going, holy shit, oh my God, Bruce Springsteen is like literally, I'm one-on-one with him. He's showing me his gym. Remember this moment, stay in the moment. I mean, that's what was
That
going through
must
my
have been
head. It
really
was just
cool.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
that's really cool. Okay, so this is actually my favorite question. Did you ever attend a Playboy mansion party?
Yes, I did. Two
How
of them.
Two of them.
Two.
And who was there? Who'd you see?
Um,
What was Can you paint the picture for everyone? 'Cause-
Okay, so the very first time I was at the Playboy Mansion, I got invited to a movie night. Hugh Hefner used to have movie night, I think it was maybe once a month, and he had this big, huge theater in the home. I don't want to say huge, it probably sat like maybe, let's say 50 people. And he would show like old movies, 1920s, 1930s. It was just like awesome. And it wasn't like it wasn't like chairs, but they were more like couches and things like that. I got invited there from a producer that I met at an event that I did in Hawaii. And
Because they do like a movie night.
yeah,
Yeah, they do
yeah,
that. They used to do
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
So obviously the producer thought he was going to get himself some. And so he invited me to the Playboy Mansion.
Oh, little did he know.
Exactly. And that was an amazing movie night. That was just awesome. I remember that. But the second time I actually got invited was a huge party and where all the girls were painted. They were all naked and they were painted.
Yeah, that's like their biggest party of the year.
I did not know, believe it or not, as they were walking around, it took me a moment to click that I was like, oh my God, these girls are naked. Holy shit, their bodies are rocking.
Isn't it amazing how they do the paint? It doesn't even look like paint.
No, it was just amazing. That party was just off the chart.
I bet.
mean, everybody, there were so many celebrities there, to be honest with you. I couldn't even name them all. That was definitely one of the perks of being the Gladiator.
Yeah.
Is going to a lot of industry parties, meeting different
lot of fun.
celebrities. Oh, so much fun, especially being a Gladiator, because I remember being backstage at the Bruce Springsteen concert. That's where I met Tom Hanks. And I saw him sitting over there, was, backstage kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God, that's Tom. And that was, he was in the big, huge height of his career. And I go, I've just got to meet him. And I had the balls enough to go, hi, Tom. My name is Lori Fetrick. I play Ice on the American Gladiator. She's like, oh my God, I know who you are. I watch you. And I was just like, holy shit.
That is
oh my
so
God,
cool.
Tom Hanks watches me.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
that must have
was
been
just
like mind blowing.
It was mind blowing. And just that part of being a gladiator that, I people knew who I was, like even, leaving the United States.
You guys were world famous.
It was
world known. Yeah.
just fucking the coolest shit in the world.
I know.
And then as it kind of wound down a little bit, and I was in South Beach in Miami and we were riding bikes. This is kind of funny story. There was this homeless man, I shit you not. He was sitting on like, like this little wall, and we were walking by, and I kid you not, he goes, holy shit, you're Ice from the American Gladiators. And I'm like, oh my God, I made it. A homeless man knows who I
That's
am now.
awesome. Aw.
But yeah, it was, the Playboy Mansion parties were sick. They were just, that is something that you just never forget.
So much fun. They don't even do that anymore, do they? Is that like an end of an era? Is that
I think so.
After Hef passed?
Yeah, I'm
How
sure.
sad.
I'm
Aw.
sure.
What was the coolest place you went during Gladiators? What was your favorite?
I would say when we went international, and that was England. I went to the south of France, went to a Cannes Film Festival. That was fucking amazing.
Oh, cool.
I can't really say I was in Paris. I just flew in and flew out. But England was definitely that. And the south of France was just
such a cool
fucking
place.
Off the charts. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of this would have happened if I wasn't a gladiator. I
know.
mean, these are the things that,
Yeah.
a lot of people, it's like, where'd you travel? Who'd you meet?
Yeah. All those perks, definitely.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so everybody also wants to know, like, how are you staying in such, awesome shape these days?
I actually.
How do you train
How do I train?
compared to the American Gladiator days? How are you training now? Are you training different?
I would honestly say that I train almost the same. I still lift as heavy as I possibly can just to keep the muscle tone.
I just have to force you to do cardio.
You have to force me to do cardio because I've always fucking hated cardio. Hated it. It doesn't matter. I've always hated it. So yeah, I do it. I do it now more so for my heart, which is an old
I
thing.
need it. I have to do cardio. I love it.
I train my ass off, actually. I do. I train as hard as I possibly can. I will fight this aging process with every possible in me. As far as the whole anti-aging thing, it's like I don't want to fucking do it. I don't
Yeah.
want to do it.
I don't
I don't want to
identify.
age.
I don't identify as old.
I don't identify as old.
Never
In my
will.
head, I'm still 30. I really do. And I think
Yeah.
that contributes to eating good.
Mhm.
Everybody, people do. They go, oh my God, you look the same. What the fuck? How do you do this? Well, I eat good. I train. I exercise. I take care of myself. I used to smoke. I stopped smoking when I was 40. So, it's been a while.
You get plenty of sleep, plenty
I
of rest.
do. I take, and honestly, I do things like peptides. Peptides are very good for your body. Naturally, we had peptides. So there is like an anti-aging peptide out there. I don't know if the fucking thing works, but I'm gonna try it. It's not necessarily HGH. I even tried that because our own growth hormone, I mean, it goes all the way up until you're 30. After 30, it just fucking dies.
And then we just are dying.
And we're
after that.
dying constantly.
We're all dying right now.
Yeah. So it's like your skin, everything. I think that's the biggest thing with me is my skin age, which blows and sucks. And everybody's like, well, that's part of aging. I don't care. I don't like it.
I know.
I look at guys and girls in the gym that are like 25, 30, 35, even 40 for fuck's sake. And I'm looking at their skin and it's just so beautiful. And I'm like, oh my God, I remember the day.
Well, think of how ginormous you were.
I know.
Though.
I know. I got to think of that too.
I mean, you got to eat more if you're going to want to be.
I try. I actually, between intermittent fasting, which I kind of do a little bit here and there.
You just have to eat more pizza.
Oh God.
Like
if
me.
I ate like you, I'd be like, the girl eats Taco Bell. All
No,
right. Anyway.
I eat way better now, than I used to. What was your diet like when you were a gladiator compared to now?
Let's talk about that later. Let's talk about that next time.
Your fish.
Let's talk about that next time. All right, cool. That was a great episode. Thank you so much. And
fun, yeah.
We will see you on the next episode, I believe. I have you for one more episode,
don't I? Yeah, you got me for
I?
one more at least, yeah.
All right, beautiful.
As long as you'll have me.
All right, great. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to Chillin' with Ice. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share wherever you listen to your podcasts. Remember to follow us on Patreon and YouTube at Chillin' with Ice. And on Instagram and TikTok, you can follow me at lori.ice.fetrick. I look forward to chilling with you next time here on Chillin' with Ice.